Good morning. Welcome back to Unspoken Exit, a series about suicide, suffering, and staying. Suicide is never just about one thing. And while depression and existential despair are major contributors, they're not the only ones. This episode is about honoring the range people may choose to die. Let me rephrase that. The range of reasons people may choose to die. These reasons deserve to be named without judgment. Some people live with unbearable physical pain. They've tried medications, they've tried surgeries, they've tried therapies, and still they suffer every day. This physical pain that may not necessarily be super intense because this person might have built up a pain tolerance. This gnawing experience day after day, reminding us of our limitations, reminding us of our mortality, reminding us of maybe why it happened in the first place. This medical condition, this psychological condition, this physical condition, this accident, this pain is a constant reminder. The pain begins to deteriorate our body. The pain begins to limit our availability to show up for other people, availability to show up within our communities, availability or the ability to have that level of independence. This pain sometimes can get to a place where we're no longer to do the things that we once used to do. For some, suicide becomes a form of reclaiming control. It's about ending the suffering when all other options have failed. It isn't depression, it's autonomy. And many people advocate for assisted dying because they believe this should be a legal right. On the other hand, we have for survivors of trauma, and this can be trauma in lots of different ways. We're not going to limit it to sexual violence or military combat, but trauma, and we're definitely not going to say big T and little t trauma. Trauma is trauma. What might be traumatic for somebody might not necessarily be traumatic for another person. For trauma survivors, it can feel inescapable. The triggers, the anxiety, the reliving, the living with the experience, living with the judgment, living with the pity, living with the shame, the guilt. Oftentimes, folks who have experienced trauma will take ownership, and own parts of what happened. Living with everything that goes along with trauma, nobody teaches us what it looks like after we survive. Everybody focuses on surviving. But trauma survivors oftentimes will survive and will not know what to do afterwards. Even after years of therapy, some people still live in daily horror, daily terror, daily reminders. Suicide in these cases isn't about giving up. It's about trying to get free from a body and a mind that may feel hijacked. And then for some, the pain of public shame or rejection can lead to suicidal crisis. Think of people who have been outed without consent. Those folks who did not consent to being filmed in some very vulnerable states. People who I work with some populations that carry a significant level of shame and social rejection, and these are minor attracted individuals. The folks that I work with are non-offending minor attracted individuals. But the thought of reaching out to a therapist and saying, hey, this is something that I struggle with, prevents folks from reaching out. That shame, that guilt, that remorse, that judgment, that social rejection. Folks who are forced into or who live an experience where they're constantly worried, constantly bullied, constantly been taught that they are wrong, what they did is horrible. This idea that if anybody finds out who I am, what I am, or that somebody already found out, and that label itself carries such a stigma. No matter where that shame is based in, we all carry shame. But think about your worst, that skeleton in your closet that you have fought a huge portion of your life to protect. And if somebody found out, that would destroy you. That's what people are escaping. This is especially dangerous for youth and for marginalized groups. Then we have sudden poverty, foreclosed home, a loss of job, looming legal charges. All of these can lead to intense despair. In some cases, people see suicide as a way to protect their family from scandal, protect their loved ones from being burdened, especially in cultures that emphasize honor, like parts of East Asia or the Caribbean. Some suicide comes from caregivers, people who have spent years tending to others, often without help. And it's not limited to therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, lawyers, professionals. It's not limited to nurses or other types of professionals. These are people, and some of you are not going to like this. These are people who oftentimes put everybody above them, everybody else's priority, because of boundaries or because of how they view themselves, or because they have been taught that to be a good person, you have to put yourself last. These are people who are constantly taking care of everyone around. These are the people who we see as the strong ones. These are the ones that never get asked, are you okay? How are you doing? And when they finally do reach out, they then have to navigate other people's emotions. It's more emotional labor for them, trying to comfort those who are shocked by their pain. This leads perfectly into episode 10, but we'll explore that later in depth. So finally, there are so many reasons someone might decide to die. Instead of asking, why would someone do that? Maybe we should ask, what was too heavy for them to keep carrying? In our next episode, we'll tackle one of the most common and harmful myths, the idea that suicide is selfish. So thank you all for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Have a wonderful, amazing rest of this beautiful day. And I'll see you soon.